Welcome to the deep dive. If you love stories, whether you're trying to build them yourself or just, lose yourself in them, today we're going to challenge some familiar ideas about plotting, about outlining.
Yeah, we're moving away from those maybe rigid formulas.
Exactly. We're talking about something more fluid and I think, frankly, more interesting, a different approach.
That's right. We're looking at a method, not really a formula, for understanding narrative structure. And for this deep dive, we're drawing heavily on the Book Architecture, How to Plot an Outline Without Using a Formula by Stuart Horwitz. We've got the source material right here.
Right. And Horowitz, he founded book architecture because he felt writers needed, well, a structured method, something to help them build something really beautiful, original, not just quick fixes. He calls them magic pills for manuscript problems.
Mm-hmm. And his method, it really boils down to three core concepts: scene, series, and theme.
And today we're really going to focus in on that middle one, series. And the tools that go along with it, they're pretty powerful.
Absolutely. So our mission for you in this deep dive is to really unpack this concept of the series. We'll explore the tools, how they work practically.
And hopefully show how this approach can help reveal that hidden structure in any story. Might fundamentally change how you think about writing and
Right.
reading too.
Definitely.
Okay, let's unpack this then. You call it a series, but that word usually makes me think of like a sequence of books, Harry Potter series, that kind of thing. How's this different?
That's a great place to start because, yeah, it's completely different in this context. We're talking about within a single story. A series here is all about the deliberate repetition
Mm.
and variation of some narrative element.
Okay, repetition and variation. So it's like noticing when something pops up more than once, but it's changed a bit each time.
Precisely. That's the fundamental insight here, and it's really key. Repetition with variation. That's how meaning gets created in the story.
Right.
It's how something that might seem small at first can build up resonance, significance over the course of the narrative.
So what kind of narrative element are we talking about? Is it just objects? Like a
No,
recurring
no.
symbol?
It can be almost anything that repeats and varies.
Huh?
A character-specific gesture,
Yeah.
yeah, an object, a phrase they say, a certain type of event, even a concept.
Okay.
And a series, according to the method, needs a few things: a name, a type, character, object, concept, whatever, a certain number of iterations.
Iterations meaning each time it
Yeah,
appears.
exactly, each instance. And then what the source calls a series sentence.
A series sentence. What's that for?
It's basically a short description of the pattern, how the element repeats and how it varies across those iterations. It often captures the the tension or the change within that specific series.
Ah, okay. So it describes the journey of that one recurring thing. And how many times does something need to show up before it counts as a series? Is there a rule?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The minimum number you need for it to even register in a reader's mind is just two.
Just,
Yeah. You see it once. Okay. You see it again. Slightly different, maybe. Your brain starts to think, pattern. But
yeah.
three times is often the charm. That's frequently the magic number for a series to feel, complete or to land with real emotional impact.
Yeah.
The source even says if you got it once, use it twice. Three times is a charm.
Okay. 3 is the magic number. Give us a simple example. The source material starts with the kid's book Corduroy, right?
Right. Perfect, simple example. In Corduroy, the teddy bear keeps thinking or saying, I've always wanted.
Hmm.
That's the series.
Okay.
First, he applies it to different things. Always wanted to climb a mountain, live in a palace, sleep in a proper bed. That's the repetition and variation right there.
But then when Lisa, the girl, takes him home.
Exactly. The series pays off.
Hmm.
He thinks, this must be home. I know I've always wanted a home. And then when Lisa calls him a friend, he thinks, I've always wanted a friend. That repetition of the phrase, but the variation in what he desires, culminating in finding what he truly needs, that's the I've always wanted series. It's simple, yeah, but you see how it builds meaning. It shows us who Corduroy is, what he yearns for.
Yeah, that simple example really nails the core idea. Repetition plus variation equals meaning. Okay, so that's the concept. How do you actually work with these series? What are the practical tools?
Okay, tool number one is the series arc. Think of it like a graph, basically, a visual tool.
A graph, like in math class.
Sort of.
Hmm.
You plot the iterations of one specific series along the bottom, the horizontal axis, usually using page numbers, or maybe time codes if it's a film.
Okay, so instance 1, instance 2, instance 3, plotted out.
Right. And then on the vertical axis, you track some kind of change or tension related to that series. Maybe it's intensity or closeness or success versus failure, depends on the series.
So you're literally charting the journey of one recurring element.
Exactly. It helps you visualize the trajectory. The source uses a great example from The Social Network. They look at an Erica and Mark series.
Okay, Erica being the girlfriend he breaks up with at the start. So iteration 1 is that brutal opening scene, the brain up. Page 10, roughly.
Yep. That iteration 2 is much later, page 77-ish, when Mark bumps into her at a club. He wants to talk, maybe apologize, but he just can't. The connection is already fraying.
Right, that awkward non-moment.
And the third iteration, the very last scene of the movie, page 162. He's alone, rich, successful, refreshing Facebook over and over, waiting to see if Erica will accept his friend request.
Oof, yeah.
So if you plot those 3 points on a series arc, tracking, say, the quality of their connection, you see this stark, clear downward line.
A total deterioration.
Absolutely. It visually hammers home the irony, right? He built this massive social network, but he completely failed at basic connection with the one person he seemed to actually want connection with.
Wow, okay. Seeing it like that is really powerful. The visual makes the point instantly. What's the next tool?
Tool number 2 is the series target. This one's more conceptual, maybe. Imagine a bullseye target.
Okay, like darts.
Kinda. At the very center, the bullseye, that's your story's central theme.
The main idea the story's exploring.
Exactly. And then arranged in the rings around that bullseye are all the various series you've identified in the story.
And the goal is everything should point towards the center, like all the arrows hitting the target.
Pretty much. It's a way to check that all these different series, all these repeating patterns in your story are somehow contributing to or reflecting that central theme. It ensures the narrative feels unified, that it's really drilling down into that core idea.
Okay, let's stick with The Social Network. The source says the theme is exclusivity. They pull that Eduardo Saverin quote.
Right. In a world where social structure was everything, that the ability to invite or not invite friends to join Facebook was the thing. So exclusivity is in the bullseye.
So how do other series fit onto that target?
Well, think about the harvard.edu email address. It's not just a plot point. It's a series representing exclusive access. You needed it to get in early on. The most prestigious email address in the country, right?
Okay. That fits. What else?
The Gentlemen of Harvard series, the Winklevoss twins. They embody that old money, inherited social exclusivity that Mark is both drawn to and shut out from.
Totally.
Then there's the Larry Summers series, the Harvard president, his super old office. He represents that established, almost untouchable institutional exclusivity. He even questions how the twins got a meeting with him. It reinforces the idea.
Right, layers of it. And then there's that series where Mark and Sean Parker are turning down investors, the case equity fuck you series, as the source calls it.
Exactly. That series shows them flipping the script. Now they are the gatekeepers. They've become the new exclusive ones, rejecting the old guard.
So the series target helps you see that even seemingly small details, the email address, that one scene with Larry Summers aren't just random. They're iterations of series that all reinforce that central theme of exclusivity.
Precisely. It weaves everything together, showing how disparate parts contribute to the whole thematic tapestry, makes the story feel tighter, more resonant.
Okay, so series arc shows trajectory, series target shows thematic unity. There's the third main tool.
Yep, the series grid. Now, this one looks like a spreadsheet.
Oh boy, okay. Rows and columns.
Rows are usually chapters or maybe page ranges. Columns are the different series you're tracking.
So you literally mark where each instance of each series falls in the story. That sounds detailed.
It is detailed, yeah. But it's a spatial tool. Its main purpose is to let you see where each series appears, and just as importantly, where it doesn't appear across the entire narrative landscape. It helps you visualize how different series interact or don't interact.
How does seeing that big grid actually help a writer, practically speaking?
Oh, it's incredibly practical. It helps you plan the gaps between iterations of a series that create suspense, foreshadowing. It helps you consciously weave together series that might seem unrelated at first glance.
Okay.
It lets you pinpoint key scenes where multiple series show up close together. The source calls this when series collide. Those collision points are often your big emotional payoff moments.
Where everything feels like it's coming together.
Exactly. It's also great for tracking character arcs, because you can see how the series associated with a character evolve over the grid. And diagnostically, it shows you where your story might feel thin because a key series disappears for too long, or maybe where you've overdone something. It's a really dynamic tool for evolving the work.
The source material actually shows bits of outlines from, like, J.K. Rowling for Harry Potter and Joseph Heller for Catch-22. And they look, well, they look a lot like these series grids.
They really do. Even if they didn't call it a series grid, they were clearly doing something similar, tracking recurring elements across the structure. This method kind of formalizes an instinct a lot of writers already have.
Yeah, it makes you think about that whole outliners versus pantsers thing. The source argues that's maybe not the right way to look at it.
Absolutely, and suggests most writers are actually both. You plan some, you discover some. The series grid isn't about locking you into a rigid outline from page one. It's a tool you can use anytime between drafts when you're stuck. It's like a flexible map of the territory you're exploring, and you can redraw the map as you go.
Looking at that Rowling grid for Order of the Phoenix, she has columns for series like Hall of Prophecy, Chogini, Order of the Phoenix running across the chapters. But she also has a plot column. What's that about?
And this is a really critical point the source makes. That plot column in her grid, it's not a separate summary of the overall plot points. It's her notes on how she's combining and weaving her individual series together in that specific chapter.
So plot isn't something separate.
Exactly. Under this method, plot isn't this external thing you follow. It's more like an effect you achieve by strategically arranging and combining your series. The plot emerges from the interaction of the series.
And you mentioned that feeling when series collide, that satisfying click.
Yes. When iterations from different series land close together, especially in important scenes, they collide. That convergence creates that powerful emotional payoff for the reader, that feeling of, it's all coming together.
Makes sense.
The source even suggests that when a book feels slow or maybe disjointed, it's often because the series aren't interacting or colliding enough. The threads aren't weaving together tightly.
That really clicks. It's not just events, but the patterns of events converging. Okay. So within all these series flying around, is there usually one main one, like a backbone for the story?
Yes, absolutely. That's the concept of the central series. This is usually the most basic, the easiest one for a reader to track. It asks the most fundamental question driving the narrative forward, and it typically anchors the story's present timeline. It runs almost the whole length of the book or film.
Like the main mystery or the quest, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So back to Corduroy. The central series is basically, will the teddy bear find his missing button? Simple. Drives the action.
And The Great Gatsby.
The source argues it's who is Gatsby. That central question, that mystery surrounding him, is what pulls Nick and us through the story.
Right. And Slumdog Millionaire, we mentioned it before, it's obviously the Q&A series. Will Jamal win the quiz show?
Yep. Crystal clear. The source also points out an interesting case in Kafka's The Metamorphosis. It argues that novella actually has two sequential central series.
Sequential?
Yeah. It starts with, will Gregor get to work? That absurd, immediate question drives the first part. But once it's clear he can't, that question becomes irrelevant. The central series then transitions to Gregor's decomposition, which tracks his physical and emotional decline and asks a much darker, longer-term question about his fate.
Huh. Okay. And how does having that clear central series help with complicated structures like flashbacks?
It provides that crucial anchor point. It's the home base the reader always returns to. Think about Slumdog Millionaire again. The Q&A series keeps us firmly rooted in the present timeline of the game show. That makes it easy and, frankly, compelling to jump into all those flashbacks showing how he knew the answers. You don't get lost because you always know where home is.
Makes sense. And like any other series, the central series can have variations too.
Definitely. It can have structural variations, like Jamal's lifelines in Slumdog. Ask the audience, 50-50, phone a friend. Those aren't just random. They become key iterations within the central Q&A series, driving plot points.
Right, like the phone a friend call.
Exactly. And it has important variations in content, too. Like the flashback explaining how Jamal knew the answer about the Rakad Rama, it reveals his mother's brutal murder.
Yeah.
That's a huge variation within the Q&A structure.
And the central series, maybe more than any other, really needs to tie directly into the theme.
Oh, absolutely. It has to embody the theme.
Mm-hmm.
For Slumdog, the source highlights the inspector's line, what the hell can a slumdog possibly know? The Q&A Central series is the theme in action. It shows, answer by answer, how this slumdog knows these things, directly confronting that thematic question.
Okay, this is making a lot more sense. Let's dig into some more examples from the source material. See how these series really work together. The Great Gatsby sounds like it's loaded with them.
Oh, it is. It's a fantastic example. The source shows how what we normally just call foreshadowing is often just the first iteration of a series.
Like what?
Like the very first descriptions of Daisy's captivating laugh or Gatsby's incredible smile. The source suggests these are the first iterations of a series it calls Who Has an Innocent Heart? Subtly linking these two characters from the start through this recurring element, posing a question about their true nature.
Okay. What about the T.J. Eckelberg billboard? The eyes looking over the ash heaps. That shows up multiple times.
Exactly. That's a perfect object series, and it's used brilliantly for show don't tell. The series isn't about the billboard itself, but about how different characters see it. Nick sees decay, Wilson sees the eyes of God, Michaelis just sees an ad.
Right.
By showing these varied perspectives on the same recurring object, the novel explores complex ideas about faith, meaning, morality, without hitting you over the head with a message.
And the series can really shape how we feel about characters, right? The source brings up Tom Buchanan's Racism, the Rise of the Colored Empire series.
Yes, Tom's repeated rants about that book, his anxieties about intermarriage. It's a series that clearly establishes his ugly prejudice.
And the source contrasts that.
Right. Contrast it with Nick's view from the Queensboro Bridge, seeing those three modish Negroes in haughty rivalry and thinking anything can happen now.
Yeah.
That juxtaposition within this series, exploring race and perspective, subtly pushes us away from Tom and makes us more inclined to root for Gatsby, even though Gatsby's a criminal.
Huh. That's subtle but effective. And the phone series, too, showing Tom's affairs.
Yeah, those careless, interrupting phone calls are a recurring element, a series that reveals his infidelity and his fundamental disregard for others, especially Daisy.
The source mentions a bunch more. Nick's poverty, the famous green light, Gatsby's obsession with repeating the past, even Gatsby's swimming pool, a classic 3-iteration series ending tragically.
Yeah, the different types of series, object, concept, character trait, place all weave together to create that incredibly rich texture.
Okay, let's jump from the jazz age to the madness of World War II with Catch-22. Heller's Grid, the one shown in the source, seems like a prime example of this thinking.
He really is. And his number of missions series, where the required number keeps increasing, 50, 55, 60, 65.
Yeah.
That's a perfect central series.
And it ties right into the theme, right? The absurd logic.
Absolutely. It directly embodies that theme of immoral logic or rewards and punishment. Your reward for flying dangerous missions, more dangerous missions. The series is the absurdity.
And thinking about characters, the source mentions flat characters maybe only having one series.
Yeah, and the Snowden series is such a powerful, heartbreaking example. Snowden, the wounded airman, chronologically, he's only really present in that one scene where he dies in the back of the plane.
Right. Yossarian keeps flashing back to it.
Exactly. Heller uses narrative repetition. He revisits that single chronological event multiple times. Each time we return, we get a little more detail, a slightly different angle. It builds this incredible sense of horror and pathos. So even though Snowden is maybe flat chronologically, the series built around his death makes him unforgettable.
While Yossarian, the main character, he's got multiple series.
Right, he's a round character. He has the Naked series, for example, where he attends parades or receives medals while naked. That recurring act shows his unique form of protest against the insanity.
And the Casualty series. That sounds grim.
It is. It tracks the mounting death toll. It starts with almost offhand mentions of losses, then escalates to more direct, brutal realities. This series is crucial to the book's shift in tone, from that dark satire early on to something much more tragic and raw by the end.
Okay, shifting gears again to something much more intimate and strange. Kafka's The Metamorphosis. How does this series stuff apply there?
It's a fascinating case study, especially with those sequential central series we talked about. Starts with, will Gregor get to work? The immediate, bizarre problem.
Which is quickly answered, no.
Right. Then it transitions to Gregor's decomposition, tracking his physical decay, his alienation. That becomes the new central question driving the narrative.
And you mentioned overlaying arcs, like Gregor's decline and the family's fortune.
Yeah, visualizing those together is really revealing. You plot Gregor's line going steadily downward, representing his decline. Then you plot the family's fortune. It dips at first because he's not earning.
Or thin.
Then it shoots up sharply after he dies, and they're, frankly, relieved. That visual collision of the downward arc and the upward arc generates so much missing about their toxic codependency and the family's, well, grim liberation through his death.
You can track character arcs this way, too, comparing them.
Definitely. Compare someone static, like the father. His father's violent series might show repeated acts of aggression, but maybe not significant change. Contrast that with the Gregor and Great series arc. Yeah. That arc shows dramatic change. Starts with her being caring, bringing him food, Then it deteriorates as she becomes resentful, burdened.
Until she finally says, it has to go.
Exactly. That's a key iteration. And it culminates in that final moment where she looks at his shriveled corpse and just notes how skinny he was. A stark endpoint to their relationship arc.
And there's another arc for her, too.
Yes, the Sister Emerges series. It tracks her own development, separate from Gregor. It ends with that image of her stretching her young body, looking forward to her future. It shows her transformation, her readiness for a new life, catalyzed by Gregor's demise.
So layering all those arcs, Gregor's body, the family's money, his relationship with Greet's own emergence, it paints this really complex picture.
It does. It visually synthesizes how all these different threads, these different series trajectories interact and build toward the story's core themes, like that unbridgeable gap between Gregor and his family.
Okay, going through all these examples, it really feels like this method isn't about forcing a story into some pre-made formula. It's more like having a set of lenses or tools to see the patterns, the underlying structure that's either already there or that you could build.
That's exactly it. And it reinforces that idea that intelligent planning, thoughtful structure, isn't the enemy of creativity or genius. The source quotes John Steinbeck on this,
Oh, yeah.
saying writers should get credit for their craft, for the design in their work, a design that's often discovered or refined after the first messy draft, not necessarily before.
So when does the book suggest writers actually use these tools? Is it an outlining thing you have to do first?
Not necessarily at all. The source suggests they're often most useful between drafts. When you hit that point of draft fatigue, you're too close to it.
Yeah, you can't see the wood for the trees.
Exactly. These tools give you a different perspective, a way to step back and analyze the structure, or just to reflect on what you've already written, to understand its shape. The series grid, for instance, isn't set in stone. It's a living document, a map you can change as you figure out where the story wants to go.
And it's not just for fiction, right? The author, Horwitz, used it on his own nonfiction book, Book Architecture itself.
He did. He tracked his core concepts like repetition and variation, central series, even something he calls the Z-axis, which is about adding a new wrinkle. In each chapter, he tracked these as series within his own argument.
So it works for structuring ideas, arguments, information, not just fictional events.
Absolutely. Shows the flexibility of the underlying principles.
The big takeaway here, then, it feels like, using these tools isn't just some dry mechanical exercise. It's actually part of the creative process itself. It gives you different kinds of ideas, structural ideas, thematic ideas, that are really valuable for finishing a strong piece of work.
I think that's right. And it offers a slightly different way to think about plot. The source makes this interesting distinction. Plot is maybe something you achieve, like achieving unity or coherence or even enlightenment within the story.
Okay.
Whereas a series is something you do. It's the active work, the conscious or a subconscious creation of those patterns through repetition and variation that ultimately builds toward that achieved plot.
Huh. Plot is the achievement, series are the actions. I like that.
Yeah, it reframes it a bit.
Okay, so we've taken a pretty deep dive here into the book architecture method, really zeroing in on this idea of the series and its companion tools, the series arc, the series target, and the series grid.
And hopefully you can see how these tools offer a really powerful, practical way to build coherence, to deepen meaning, and just add that richness, that texture to any narrative. They help you see the design, whether you're building it or just appreciating it.
So here's something to think about. Now that you've taken this deep dive with us, how might seeing stories not just as linear plots, but as these intricate tapestries woven from repeating and varying threads, how might that change the way you read your next novel, or watch a film, or maybe even how you understand the patterns playing out in the world around you? Keep an eye out for those colliding series.